What conspiracy theory do you 100% buy into and why? Disney's Frozen is only titled like that, so when you Google Disney Frozen the movie comes up instead of conspiracy theories. Edit, thanks for the gold. That BuzzFeed employees post questions on AskReddit and then make articles like top 10 conspiracy theories most people buy into. During Hurricane Katrina, the Murphy Oil refinery in St. Bernard Parish, just outside of New Orleans, had a container rupture and leak oil on a lot of the surrounding neighborhood, including my grandparents' and aunt/uncle's houses. After the cleanup, the land was deemed uninhabitable and the oil company was able to purchase all the land for very, very cheap. Many people that were affected and in the area believe that the oil company did it on purpose, and I tend to believe them. Edit 1. Cool, my highest upvoted comment, thanks guys. People asking how the oil company bought ruined land. My grandparents and everyone affected were basically told they couldn't rebuild no matter what, and all the houses were knocked down to their foundations. The land was cleaned up and looks pretty normal now, but the oil company owns all of it. Mattress firm is some sort of giant money laundering scheme. They are freaking everywhere and always empty. I remember seeing 4 mattress firms all on each corner of an intersection once. There is no way there is such a demand for mattresses. Edit, a few people seem confused. I'm talking about multiple of the same mattress store all in close proximity to each other, not different mattress companies. Like if there were 4 different companies all next to each other, I get that, but these are the same company. Edit 3, Rule 4 for the link. Sorry boys. Edit 2, RIP inbox. Pope John Paul I was assassinated for trying to uncover corruption in the Vatican Bank. He's the only pope whose body was cremated, and I believe it was done to hide the evidence of being poisoned. Edit, some Redditors have pointed out the cremation of John Paul I is a myth, and after a Google and Wikipedia search, I'm not seeing anything about it. I'd first heard about this years ago while in college and had a fascination with religious history. I can't even remember the source I read this from. The whole conspiracy kind of revolves around the Pope being cremated to hide the evidence, so the basis is flimsy now that I know the cremation probably didn't happen. It's too bad. This has always been my favorite conspiracy theory, cause unlike the ones about the Freemasons running the world or 9/11 being an inside job, this one sounded like a plot that actually could have happened. Cosmopolitan and other similar magazines intentionally give out bad advice so their readers won't get in a relationship, which makes them keep buying them for advice. The CIA posts this question of r/AskReddit almost every day to track those who know the truth and kill them, because that's the only way I can explain why this question appears so much. And now I'm going to be killed by the CIA. Paul Pierce shit his pants in the NBA Finals and faked an injury to change his pants. I don't know much about basketball, but I'll say if you shit your pants on national TV, you gotta do what you gotta do. The CIA killed Marilyn Monroe because Kennedy had been disclosing classified information to her. Planned obsolescence everywhere in industry. If everyone stopped replacing their cars and smartphones, imagine the shitstorm. Boneless wings are just overpriced chicken nuggets. The English were absolutely moving arms on the Lusitania. That's why they dropped a shit ton of depth charges on the wreck 30 years later to destroy any evidence. This was recently confirmed to be true. Another fun fact, Edith Cavell, British nurse executed by the Germans whose death was used as propaganda against the barbaric Germans, was also recently confirmed to have been a British spy, and the Germans were correct. Trader Joe's parking lots are terrible and small to make the store seem like it's always busy. Edit, did not expect this to blow up. This is a Kyle Kinane joke, go see him live. You will love it. Also, check out his podcast, The Boogie Monster with Dave Stone. They talk about ghosts and good eats. Boogie Monster. The coup attempt in Turkey was faked in order for Erdogan to consolidate his power and purge opposition. Edit, thanks Mr. Bernk. Tsar Nicholas' son, I don't remember the son's name, was being given aspirin for his hemophilia. Rasputin knew this would only make his condition worse, but didn't share this with the Tsar or his wife. In those days, aspirin was the new miracle cure-all drug, but it expands the capillaries and thins the blood. For someone dying because they're hemophiliac, there's nothing worse to give them. Whenever Rasputin was around, he didn't let the son take aspirin and he got better. The Tsar's wife was convinced he was her son's only hope and kept him around despite his, outgoing personality. Edit 1, as people have pointed out, I mistook anemia for hemophilia. I ain't no doctor. Edit 2, I left this here expecting 3 or 4 responses when I woke up. Frick is this? Edit 3, I had 80 notifications. 40 of them were people telling me I had the medical condition wrong. It only takes one, guys. Yuri Gagarin was not the first man in space, just the first man to live through it. Christian Bale has a thinner twin brother he keeps hidden away who fills in for roles requiring a skinny Christian Bale. They each share one life. Christopher Nolan figured this out and told the world in the documentary The Prestige. Snapchat selfie filters get sent and stored to the NSA for facial recognition. Elsagate and the pedophile shadow cabal on YouTube trying to brainwash children into extreme sexual deviancy. A huge number of conspiracy theories are pushed by the CIA, FBI, other government agencies, especially the more insane ones, Flat Earth, Time Cube, etc., in order to discredit actual conspiracy theorists who have actual points. Think about it. The fact that people who question the narrative are on the same level as people who believe the world is flat is astounding. It is possible, in theory, that 9/11 was faked, while no observation of the world supports that the Earth is flat. Yet, we compare the two. It's a deliberate misinformation campaign that exists for the sole purpose of turning normal people away from questioning the narrative of mainstream news agencies. Facebook and Google are monitoring everything you type, post, and say. There are so many stories of people talking about, say, cats, and getting ads for cat food within an hour. They never searched for cats or cat food then or in the past, just said the word a few times. Reply All did a podcast episode debunking this theory, but all it boiled down to was an email from Facebook stating they didn't do this. I recently started working for a company that works with Google. All new hires have a meeting with our Google representative and someone asked if they really do this. She said she wasn't aware of any ongoing initiatives to listen to people through their phones. Basically, she didn't confirm or deny, but she did say they have something called beacons inside major stores. They track you inside the store. So if you start lingering by the knives too long, for example, you'll start getting ads about knives. Crack cocaine was distributed by CIA to African American communities in the 80s and today controls the poppy production in Afghanistan. The grain conspiracy. The US put grain on bottom of the food pyramid, most needed, to get consumers to buy more grain from farmers. This is 100% real. Edit changed, top to bottom. The conspiracy isn't grain, it's how corn and corn products were promoted and subsidized to ridiculous levels. It became so cheap that it was literally cheaper to make many chemical products with corn than by synthesizing them other ways. Vitamin C, maltodextrin, acids, packaging, starch, the list is enormous. Also, it's not even a conspiracy, every farmer in Middle America knows how broken the system is. Edit, some interesting resources suggested in comments below. The Price of Inequality, Joseph Stiglitz, Omnivore's Dilemma, Michael Pollan, Food Incorporated. Documentary, King Corn, documentary. Swiper and the map are in cahoots. Think about it. Swiper always seems to know exactly where Dora is going to be. And who is always telling her exactly where to go. Wake up, sheeple. Okay, this is going to be something no one else can relate to, but bear with me. So my freshman year of college, like many other students, I lived in the dorms on my own for the first time. Because of this, I drank like a fish. Because of that, I lost the keys to my dorm room about 6 times. After getting sick of paying a fee each time I lost my keys, I noticed a hardware store on the main street of campus. It was always 100% empty, even though it was located right in the middle of a high-priced real estate area. One day I go in and ask if they can copy keys. They can. So I give the guy my dorm key and he says, "Sorry, I can't copy this, I don't have the right machine." Seems fishy to me, but okay, whatever. Next year, I have a private apartment. Still drinking a lot, still always losing my keys. This time I'm pretty confident that Ron at Ron's Hardware can copy my key. I go in, same thing, he doesn't have the right machine. At this point I'm like, okay, buy the machine. None of these keys said do not duplicate. There are 30,000 drunk college kids on this campus who lose their keys every day. Make an investment towards our futures, Ron. So I start to think about it more, and the only reasonable conclusion is that he gets a kickback from all the different property companies every month to not copy keys. So naturally every time I see the store, I rant to whoever I am with about it. Everyone thinks I'm nuts. Fast forward to super senior year. Probably shouldn't have drank so much the first 2 years, but I digress. I'm looking for a super cheap apartment and notice a building about a block off of campus that says they are still leasing places. I call the number on the side of the building. It redirects me to Ron's Hardware. Edit, thanks for the riveting discussion about keys, guys. The point is that I had a diagram in my closet with a picture of Ron's connected with Jan to the leasing companies, and I was right. Explains why his store was always empty yet still in business. Case closed. Last edit. Maybe I suck at writing, but the idea is that Ron doesn't make copies of the keys. The leasing companies pay him not to. In return, they can charge an outlandish fee when tenants lose their keys. Then turned out that this Ron guy owned/managed at least one building. Stop telling me where I can get keys made. This was a long time ago and that is irrelevant. He was the only locksmith on campus. I went off campus to Home Depot and got my apartment key copied, no problem, further proving my point. The Zoomer satellite is alive and well, probably hovering up information on everything by now. It's so blatantly obvious, no one has even confirmed any failure of the satellite. I don't even think this qualifies as a conspiracy theory because no one has really denied that it's working. Edit, hoovering, not hovering. The Brits have the best words for things. That whole thing is so freaking weird. The DoD tell the press to blame SpaceX for an unidentified failure, and SpaceX says there were no problems with the launch, so it has to be Northrop Grumman, who built the satellite, but they don't say anything at all. It smells like we are meant to think there's no satellite when there is one, but that's a little too tinfoil hatty even for me. It's just it lacks subtlety. Michael Jordan retired because of gambling. He made a deal with David Stern. Lip balm makes your lips dependent on lip balm. Just seems the more you use it, the more you need to use it. Not sure if that's an actual conspiracy, but that's the best I can come up with on a shitty Monday morning. The mafia is partially the reason why the Twin Towers came down as quickly as they did. I can't remember where I found it, but essentially when the WTC was being constructed, the mob had control of a bulk of the construction companies involved. A bit of money laundering here, a bit of skimping on the fireproofing there, a bit of money for the inspectors to turn a blind eye, and the WTC was ready to go. Of course no one could plan for a 757 to plow head-on full of gas into a structure not fireproofed adequately. This already makes more sense than most other 9/11 theories. Madeleine McCann was totally killed. Whether on purpose or by accident I don't know, but the parents have tried to hide it. I remember reading sometime about how they claimed a man took her, and the only witnesses who were in the street at the time said they saw a man walking away with a rolled up carpet, and the description fit the father. Personally, I think there was an accident in the hotel room and they tried to cover it up, not expecting it to blow up as huge as it has. Edit, corrected grammar. Edit MGI, corrected more grammar. Given that they admitted to giving the kids sleeping pills so they could go out, I've always thought that maybe they overdosed her accidentally and it's just spiraled from there. Toby is the Scranton Strangler. I know he didn't do it. It's never the person you most suspect. It's also never the person you least suspect, since anyone with half a brain would suspect them the most. Therefore, I know the killer to be Phyllis, the person I most medium suspect. People who said they believed MK Ultra was real were laughed at for being kooks. Sometime later it becomes declassified information. Isaac Hayes was assassinated by the Church of Scientology because of his involvement with South Park. It was claimed that Hayes left the show because of his involvement with the church and was upset with Trey and Matt with the idea of making fun of Scientology. But after the episode was released, marking the first time that the origin myth of Scientology was told on primetime television, he was mostly likely deemed a suppressive person and then murdered in his home. The full details of his death were and are still incredibly hazy, excuse the morbid pun, and the coroner report was not at all conclusive. TLDR, Isaac Hayes was killed by fricking Scientologist over South Park. This post was made by a collaboration of governments, trying to see how much the public knows. Drive. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated by the government. If you're interested in knowing, the link is link. Also there's a video, and more, but I found this one to be very understandable for me. I remember reading somewhere that the FBI had an employee who would write letters to Dr. King suggesting that he kill himself. That guy would. They loved internet comment sections. That much of the current polarization and hate around social issues is, although self-maintained, triggered purposefully and amplified by manipulators in an act of destabilization of Western societies, especially North American, through social media. This applies to both sides, which are too complacent to see it in themselves. My mum pays all of my friends to be my friends. The woman's clothing industry is a conspiracy. Winter cardigans intentionally thin so they have to buy more to layer them. No pockets so they have to buy bags. If the men's clothing industry tried the same shit, I guarantee the global economy would collapse overnight. Michael Jackson was chemically castrated as a preteen, which is why his singing voice remained so high-pitched, and a major contributor to many of his other odd behaviors as an adult. Growing up, I had a friend whose dad drove a limousine for a living. We'd always ask him who the most famous person he'd driven was. He once said that he drove Michael Jackson. He said that once Jackson had finished taking photos with the media, he'd get in the car and his voice would immediately change from the high voice we all knew, to a deep African American accent. The voice was put on just for show. Take this with a very large grain of salt. I am just going to accept it as truth for comedic purposes. Hee hee.